to my new wife, the Empress of Russia. Huzzah!
Launching back in May of 2020, The Great has become one of the most popular period pieces in recent history by placing less of a focus on the dignity of the time and more on the comedic situations our favorite characters find themselves in.
It's science! Enjoy!
And it looks like Hulu couldn't have asked for more, with the franchise recently being renewed for a second season. But what do we really know about the highly anticipated next installment of the series, which is loosely based on the rise of Catherine the Great? Well, whether you're a fan of the Hulu original or just want to know as much as you can about any and all upcoming series, you've come to the right place, as we're about to take a deep dive into everything there is to know about The Great Season 2. So strap yourselves in, ladies and gents, as things are about to get interesting. The Great Appeal. Described as a genre-bending, anti-historical ride through 18th century Russia, The Great is not exactly what you'd expect from a period piece dealing with the rise of Catherine the Great. Starring the beautiful Elle Fanning as Catherine herself and the hilarious Nicholas Hoult as Peter III, Season 1 of the franchise did a brilliant job in turning the usual periodic genre on its head by concentrating on comedy over and above both poshness and politics. And this is to a large extent what caused many fans to fall in love with the show. Since we aren't exactly the biggest fans of historically accurate documentaries or pinpoint reimaginings like we see from the world of Charlotte Bronte, The Great was most certainly a breath of fresh air, which is probably better off being compared to the likes of Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. The series was written by Tony McNamara, who also served as the screenwriter for The Favorite, and shares the credit of executive producer with both Elle Fanning and Marian McGowan. So if you enjoyed the tone and comedic value of The Favorite, you'll most definitely enjoy this periodic look into the transformation of Catherine the Nothing into Catherine the Great. But for those of you who took the leap and fell in love with the show like we did, let's take a look at what we currently know about the upcoming second season, the renewal of Season 2. After binging the 10-episode run of Season 1 of The Great, fans couldn't help but feel a little lost knowing that a second season was likely to be a few years in the making. This fear was later confirmed when the Oscar-nominated screenwriter refused to give out any information concerning the return of our favorite cast of misfits. It would seem that neither McNamara nor Hulu were in the game of counting their chickens before they hatched, waiting eagerly for fans to speak out on the matter before bringing us the good news. After the majority of us had gone ahead and binged the first season for a second time in anticipation of the announcement, Hulu finally confirmed that The Great would indeed be renewed for a second season. Huzzah! That being said, information on this anticipated release has been kept pretty hush over the last few months, so we've looked at rumors and compiled a list of everything we could possibly know about this renewal. And you won't believe what information we've been able to dig up, so stay tuned. Release date. But before opening that stash of macaroons you have saved up and throwing a few glasses on the floor in celebration of this renewal, keep in mind that no release date has been revealed just yet. And considering the state of the world due to the global health situation and the effects that it had on the filming industry, it could be a solid few years before we actually are able to watch Season 2 from the comfort of our own homes. That being said, let's do our best to try and calculate precisely when this release date is expected to be. We know that the first season of The Great was greenlit back in February 2019, but didn't air until May of 2020. In other words, without taking into consideration the effects of the global health situation, the filming of the incredible first season took around 1 year and 3 months at the very least. If filming began today and carried on without a hitch, then we could probably expect to get our hands on the second season by May 2022. But since there are a number of variables that could affect this eventual release, we should probably look at things logically and expect a date closer to August 2022. At least that way we won't be getting our hopes up. If we do end up getting access to Season 2 much sooner, it'll be an incredible surprise to look forward to. For now though, I guess we'll just have to rewatch Catherine teaching Peter how to say touche on repeat.
Do you mean touche?
Returning cast members. Since absolutely no information has been released regarding the potential return of cast members for Season 2 of The Great, we'll have to draw some conclusions based on what the actors have said about working on set for Hulu and whether they'd be inclined to sign another contract to continue the story arcs of their respective characters. What better place to look for information like this than at the various interviews spread across the internet, as well as the behind-the-scene footage that clearly shows the cast having a great time with each other. It won't surprise you to hear that not a single cast member has had a negative thing to say about the filming of the franchise, with the vast majority of the cast having incredible chemistry with one another on set. A great example of an on-screen couple built for one another is an Elle Fanning and Nicholas Hoult, who have been said to keep one another laughing like there's no tomorrow. Since the central characters of the franchise are all still breathing, which is an incredible feat considering the insane amount of bloodshed in the show, we can probably expect each and every one to return for the second season. In essence, this would include Elle Fanning as Catherine, Nicholas Hoult as Peter III, Phoebe Fox as Catherine's maid Marial, Sacha Dhawan as the bureaucratic Orlov, Adam Godley as the religious advisor Archie, and Charity Wake Wakefield as Peter's frequent mistress, Georgina. There's also been some talk regarding the possible return of Catherine's own lover, Leo, as portrayed by Sebastian de Souza. Although it appears as if he's met his death, we never saw this demise on screen. And as the old adage goes, if it didn't happen on screen, it probably never happened at all. We can also expect a number of new faces to grace our screens throughout the duration of the second season, but since no information has been released as to which new characters will be portrayed, we couldn't even hazard a guess as to which new actors could be brought on board. That cliffhanger. The season 1 finale of The Great was an incredible experience which followed Catherine on her 20th birthday. Deciding to throw her months of meticulous planning aside and kill Peter as a present to herself, she's met with Peter actually grappling with the fact that he may indeed love his wife, resulting in him trying to get her to admit the same by the day's end. Surprising her with a visit from her idol, Voltaire, Catherine admits to the fact that she actually has become quite fond of Peter, a statement that caused the majority of fans to scratch their heads in confusion. But then Catherine decides to lunge forward with a knife, which Peter unwittingly mistakes for a bit of foreplay. This confusion of his is, however, set right by Marial betraying Catherine by informing him that she's trying to start a coup, as well as the fact that Catherine is pregnant with his heir. Holding a knife to Catherine's throat, the two lovers bargain with one another regarding what the future will hold for them. In the end, she gives up her ties to her true lover, Leo, finally becoming bonded with Peter by the mutual delusions that they share. While his is that Catherine will one day fall in love with him, hers is that Peter will one day let her rule the adopted country she loves. It's an odd ending to say the least, which leaves so much space for a second season to pick up. What we can expect from the second season. While it may be true that The Great was never supposed to be a historically accurate retelling of the story of Catherine the Great, there's no doubt that at least some portions of the series are based on the true livelihood of this historical figure. In fact, a title card at the beginning of each and every episode contains the line, "an occasional true story," which tells you everything there is to know about the franchise's future. From learning our history, we know that Catherine the Great wasn't able to take the throne of Russia until the birth of her first son, Paul, which we saw teased in the season finale. Since Catherine went on to reign for a whole 34 years after this moment of power, there is so much content the show can dig into to maintain at least a few seasons. Executive producer Marian McGowan has actually said in an interview that the showrunners have already mapped out several seasons of the show. In her own words, "We initially pitched 6 seasons, so we believe there's sufficient material to take us through until she's an old woman. But if you're worried about changes to the cast like we saw in The Crown, this is still a ways away." In explanation of this, Elle Fanning told Entertainment Weekly that she can confirm that when season 2 picks up, the characters being played by the cast will be at around about the same ages as they were towards the end of the first season. After picking up a Golden Globe for her performance as Catherine, Elle also revealed that throughout the duration of the second season, her relationship with Peter is due to shift. Speaking on this topic, Elle said, "Catherine, I feel, has a real soft spot for Peter, which gets to be explored. Their relationship gets way more twisted, so we have a lot of working together. We have no idea how much more twisted the relationship between Peter and Catherine can become, but we must admit that we're excited to find out more about what can be expected from the future of The Great. But since nothing else has been revealed just yet, we're gonna have to wait for some more interviews and the eventual trailer before theorizing any further." What did you think of season 1 of The Great? What would you like to see from its second season? Feel free to let us know in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.